Hi everyone, Michael here from Shopify. Today we're going to be discussing themes. So customizing your theme can be a great way to make sure that the store fits with your business needs and the branding. So what we'll be going through is how you can add a theme to your store, how you can customize it, as well as how you can make sure that it fits in with the store's business needs and the branding. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we'll start off on the home page of the store. So to get to your themes page, we can navigate to online store, and then themes will automatically appear. And then here we can see a couple of different options. So up at the top, we have our speed score, so how quickly the store loads. And then we have View Your Store that brings you directly to your website, and then a little preview of your current theme. And then you can see here at the moment I have the Dawn theme that I'm using. If there are any updates to the theme, they'll appear here just to let you know. And you can find a little bit of information about the latest version and also add it to the theme library. Next, we have the three dots here, the ellipses, and then we have the view option to allow you to view the theme, the rename, so if you want to call it something else, maybe Dawn version 1 or Dawn test or something, if you wanted to make sure you remembered what the purpose of the theme was. And then you can duplicate the theme here, which is a great option if you're making changes to your theme and you want to make sure that it doesn't affect anything on the live store. So for example, you could be adding in a new section, but you weren't 100% sure about how to go about it, or it's a little bit complex or more complicated than normal. What we can do is duplicate the theme so it shows up under the theme library, and then we can make the changes to the duplicate, make sure everything looks okay, and then we can make that our main theme. So I'll go through that a little bit more in detail later on. Next, we have the option here to download the theme file in case you need that, or if you want to re-upload it somewhere else, perhaps to a new store, something like that. And then we have the option here to edit the code, so you can dig into the theme files and the theme code. So we can have a little quick look to see what that looks like. So here you have the different folders. You have your layout, your template, section, snippet, configuration, assets, and locale. So if you are familiar with Liquid, you might want to hop in here and make some changes. And then we can go back here to where we were. And then we have the last option here, which is edit theme, default theme content. So this option is what's used if you, typically it's used if you want to kind of reword something, how it's phrased for your main language. So for example, here we have our general section, and maybe I don't really like the wording of this. So share on Facebook, that sounds okay, but maybe tweet on Twitter. Maybe I'm anti-alliteration, so I just take that part out, or pin on Pinterest, and then you can make your changes and save up here. And there's lots and lots of different options here, so you can go, and then here you see I have them saved, so it's asking if I want to save my changes, so I can just go to leave. But you can go to all the different pages and make any changes that you'd like in here. And you have your templates as well, so it's a great area if you don't like the wording of something, or maybe you just want to change it for some reason. It's great to be able to do that here from the theme content. So that's the three options there. And then here we have the option to customize our theme. So we're going to have a look at that as well a little bit later. And then here we have the option to add a theme. So under here we can see we can upload a theme file that maybe we've downloaded from another store or another source, maybe a website that creates themes. And then we have the option to connect a theme from GitHub. And then last but not least, we can visit the theme store as well. That's themes.shopify.com. So next, we can see here is our theme library. So this is where your themes that aren't the live theme live. And so you can find maybe some of the themes that you're working on or past themes that you've had that you want to keep just in case. And then under here, we can see our popular free themes. So we have Dawn, Spotlight, Refresh, Sense, and Crafts. So they're all Shopify themes. And then you can see the option here as well to visit the theme store for third-party paid themes, as well as some more Shopify themes as well. So that's all the main options here from the kind of main theme page. So what we'll do for today's demonstration is we'll add the Sense theme because it kind of ties in with the theme, pardon the pun, of our store, which is Sarah's Soaps. So Sense is kind of a good starting place for bath type products. And then another thing that is good to know is that any of the Shopify themes that are made for free that you have access to, they all have the same layout. So all the sections and the theme settings are the same. So while I'm speaking, I'll actually quickly add the Sense theme. So it would take quite a bit of customization in the theme editor, but it is possible to make one free theme in Shopify look like another if you wanted. So for example, maybe you currently have the Sense theme, but you wanted it to look more kind of like Dawn, because there's certain things with the Sense theme that you liked. That is possible to do because the layout is the same for all of the free Shopify themes. So it means that when you're choosing a Shopify theme, you don't have to kind of need this massive undertaking. You can change the design sometimes quite significantly without even editing any of the code. So it's one of the great advantages of using one of the free Shopify themes available as part of your plan. And then when it comes to third-party themes, they are a little bit different. So one third-party theme might have sections or settings that one doesn't, or options. So it is recommended that you do a little bit more research when it comes to your paid themes. So kind of making sure you have your brand's design and voice, and you know exactly what you want to do there, and then finding the paid theme that kind of ties in with what you're looking for. So now that our Sense theme has been added, we can see it here. We'll go into the Customize option and take a little look to see. So you can see here, it's quite a nice layout here for the Sense theme. So we'll go through all the different sections here. So up at the top, we have the header. So we have our little announcement bar, and then you see when you click on an option, usually a new section opens here on the right hand side where you can make your edits and changes. So they're quite self-explanatory for the most part. And then you can also see your theme settings here, where you can add in some additional information, and then the custom CSS if you want to add in your own little bit of code. For example, change a specific part of the theme or something like that. And then we have our little welcome to our store message. So if you wanted to change that, and for example, we could say free shipping on all orders. So then we see it pops up here. So you can have what you'd like up there, and then you can even link it to certain page, for example, if you wanted that kind of a thing. And then next we have the header. So when we click on the header here, we can see the different options available. So this is the menu that has been chosen under online store navigation. So you can actually create new menus if you wanted to, and then have that be the menu that's connected here. So that's one of the options you could choose, and you can also see that with the online store 2.0, we have the option for a drop-down menu, a mega menu, which won't work in this instance, I believe, because it needs to be nested 3 times. So there needs to be kind of 3 layers. So for example, you could have catalog, soaps, and new in, and then that will kind of display our mega menu. And then the last option here is the drawer. So you can see it here on the side. So these are some pretty cool options that you have that you can use for your menu. And then you can choose as well if you want to have the sticky header. So if it kind of follows you everywhere. And then we have your colors, your country selector, language selector, and you can do some changes there with the spacing as well. And under these, you can see the header. You can add an announcement. So for example, you could add in a second one if you wanted, and then you can add a block to the header. As you can see there, you can add a collabs page, so it depends on what's kind of compatible. And then you can add a little section here. So you could add custom liquid, announcement bar, and you have your apps available. So it is a little bit dependent on what area of the theme that you're looking at and what you can actually do. So for example, we're looking at add section here and we see these options, but then if you look at add section here, we see there's 17 sections available in one app. So it depends. There are limitations on what can be done within certain sections of the admin. So not every ad section is the same, basically. And then we come to our template. Then you can see here we have our image with text. So up at the top, we can select our image. So what page are we on here? We're on the home page, so maybe want to add in Sarah with her soaps. Perfect. And then we have an option here. We can change the text, or maybe make it bold if we wanted, stand out a little bit more. And then you can see here, you've probably noticed, you can save on your top right here, and you can also publish to the live theme from there. And then we have our button, so shop now, so we can change the wording. So we could say browse other products. Oh, that's what it says right above. Didn't think that through too well. So we could say something like on the button, or maybe if you're not very creative like me, you can just leave it as is. So see products. And then we have our option to add a block. So we can add a little caption here, for example, with a tagline. And then again, on the right, we have the option to edit what the tagline says. So math, quality, always, we could say, for example, something like that. And then we can choose our text size, our text style. So we have loads of different available options here. And then we could add in text, for example, if you want a little bit of information, depending on what kind of a setup you have. And then here under the template, we see add section again. So we can see that there's quite a lot that can be added in. So we have our featured collection. So we can have a collection here that's being displayed. You can kind of see a preview on the right there. And then the products within the collection. So you can choose how many of the products display within the collection. And then we have featured products. So that's pretty much the same, except for it's just one product and not a collection. And then we have collection list. So instead of having a collection with the products, this is a list of collections. Then you can choose to go into a collection. So for example, we could have hand towels, soaps, body wash, that kind of a thing for their soaps. And then rich text, so you can add in a little bit of text if you wanted, an image with text, an image banner. It's quite nice sometimes. You can have a slideshow of the different available products. You could have a collage, multi-column, so a little bit of text and a heading. It's an option there. And then multi-row, and so we have our kind of like a multi-column, but obviously it's horizontal instead of, or vertical instead of horizontal. And then we have our images included as well. We have collapsible content, which is a very popular one for the product page. A lot of merchants like to add in collapsible content on the products with a little bit of information, maybe on the fabrics or the shipping. That kind of information is quite popular. And then we have an email sign up we can add in, contact form, a video if you wanted, a blog post, and then your custom liquid, or you could add in a page as well. And then here is where you see your apps. So if there are any apps that are compatible with this particular section, so under the template we can see the collabs page is compatible, so we could add that in if we wanted. And then finally we get to the footer, and then we can see here the email sign up. So we can change the text there if we'd like, subscribe to our emails. I won't risk that again, considering I wasn't very innovative with my last button attempt. So we could say subscribe to our emails, and then join our email list for exclusive offers. And then we have our little form where the email can be added. So this is kind of under the email sign up, we can add a block. We see it is kind of limited, so there's the collabs page and blocks, but if there is a compatible app, for example, you could add another block in there, or in the footer you could add a section. So we're looking here, we can see you can add some custom liquid if you wanted, an email sign up, which we already have. We can add in the apps as well, that would be compatible with the footer. So that's the current available options there. And then we have the footer itself, and we can see there's a couple of options here. You can decide what you want to display. On the right hand side we have our color scheme, so this is the default here, but you can change that to something like the black and white or maroon, whatever you'd like to have in there. And then you can decide if you want to add in the email sign up, the different options like follow and shop, social media icons. So it's not displaying here at the moment because it hasn't been connected for this particular store, but you'd see your Instagram and Facebook, that kind of a thing, TikTok. And then you have your country and region selector, so that displays here in the footer. You can remove that if you'd like. So typically if a merchant uses their own app for this, it would come up in the header, and they would opt to remove it from the footer because it is a little bit hidden away, so you would kind of have to go looking for it. So typically they would hide it here from the header and the footer if merchant uses their own app as a country selector. Some merchants like to have a little flag beside the country, for example, which is available through some of our third-party apps on the App Store. So that is pretty much all the options there. We can show our payment icons. So this looks quite nice and professional. If you wanted to do that, we could have our policy links to make sure our merchants are, our customers are aware. And that is pretty much everything here on the main page of the theme editor. So that's the home page. And then another thing that we can take a look at here is our settings. So we can see there's quite a lot of options here in the theme settings. We can add in our branding, our logo, favicon, our colors, typography, choose a different font if you'd like. Where did we go? And then here's our layout. So we can change that a little bit. We can add in some interesting animations, or we can choose what the existing ones look like. We have our variant pills, some inputs. So it's basically just kind of choosing exactly how you would like to display certain things like buttons, fonts, colors, things like that on the store. Our collection cards, block cards, content containers, your media, your drop down and pop-ups, your drawers, your badges, your brand information. You can add a little bit of info on your brand here in the footers if you'd like. You can add an image, description, social media. You can add in all your links. So that means it'll link externally to any of the social media platforms that you have for the store. And search behavior. So you can decide if you want to enable the suggestions, show the product vendor, if there's a vendor for the product, and then the product price, and currency. So could enable or disable that if you'd like. So this is kind of how it would look like for US sold. And then we have our cart, so we can show, or we can choose what we would like our cart to look like. So this is actually one that merchants ask about quite frequently, and it's a great option. So we could have the cart as a kind of a pop-up. We can have it as its own separate page, or we could have it as a drawer on the right-hand side. So when you navigate to the cart, it kind of pops up on the right, similar to how we've seen the options pop up here. And then we have a collection that shows up. So maybe you want to show all your products if the cart is empty. So if someone navigates to their cart, they've no products in the cart, then they maybe go to the collection with all your products, for example. So you could do something like that, or maybe even just be automatically navigated back to the home page. And then with our checkout, we can see here we can add in your own background image, your logo, where you want to position everything, the size, content area, the order summary page. You can add in some color images, things like that there. And then this is another one that merchants ask about quite frequently. So we're here in the gear, so in the settings, theme settings, and then checkout, and then the checkout layout. So people frequently ask, how do I get the one-page checkout? So this is where it's done. So you can choose the 3-page checkout if you prefer. This is the older one that we had, or else the new one-page checkout is available from here. So typically for new merchants, it's automatically enabled, but this is where you would disable it and choose the 3-page checkout if that is your preference. And then again, we have our custom CSS. Everything went blue. We have our custom CSS, and then we can add in some custom styles if you wanted to here. And then the last option here is our app embeds. So currently we have one app. You can add several depending on what kind of things you require for your store. But at the moment we have our online store chat. So Shopify inbox, and we can see it here. So here's where we can choose kind of what it looks like. So first of all, we can enable it from here, and then we see it's popped up. And then maybe I'm thinking the black doesn't really go with my current color scheme. So let's see. That is very, very bright. So maybe we change our text to black. And then we see fits in a little bit more with how the rest of the homepage looks. And then we can choose our position, for example. Then we can say maybe need help. So we decide to call it. This is what it looks like. So there's loads of different options here available. And you can, the great thing as well is you can see what it's going to look like while you're still in the theme editor. So that's definitely a great advantage. So there are other apps as well you could do this for, like your product reviews, for example. You can choose the different options, and loads and loads of other apps available on our app store. Okay, so the next thing that we want to have a look at is the different page templates. So if we look here, we can see we have our home page, which we're currently on, and then we have our products, collections, collection lists, pages, blogs, blog posts, and then the cart, the checkout, and the classic customer accounts. So most of them are pretty self-explanatory. So if we go into products, we can see we have the default product template, and then we have the option to create a template as well. So if we go into default products, I'm just going to exit out of the chat here. So this is what one of the products looks like. And then if you're wondering, how do I get back to all those options? We just click here onto the sections, and then we can see what we can customize here for the products. So if there's a particular product maybe you had in mind, for example, I'm thinking, no, I want to look at my orange soap and then see what that's going to look like. You can switch it out from the preview up at the top here. So we see it's quite similar. We have our header, our announcement bar, sections. The main part that people tend to look at when we're not on the main homepage is the template. So this is what's a little bit different. So every page type has its own template. So there's the product template, the collection template, the blog template, for example, things like that. And then what you can do is customize that template to kind of make it look how you want. And then instead of having to customize every individual product page, for example, this is the template that's going to be used for all the products across the board. So sometimes it does cause a little bit of confusion with merchants because, for example, maybe I wanted to change my handmade orange soap and how it looks. So I think, okay, I'll go into the theme editor and make some changes here. But if you do that, it will change any of the products that are currently using this template. So what you could do, for example, is you could go into products and create template and then call it orange soap. And then you can base the template on the default product. And then create it from here. Okay, and then we see it's popped up here at the top. So when we go into products, you can see this is the one I've just created. And now I can choose my orange soap again, and I can make my changes and feel safe doing so. And then once I have done that, I can just go into the orange soap product and then choose that template that I've just created. And so it means you can apply a certain template to certain products only. And so, for example, if we remember from earlier on, we were talking a little bit about the collapsible content. So, for example, we could add that in here and drag it under here, and then under collapsible row, we could call that ingredients. And then, interesting. Ingredients, and then we could say something like orange, hopefully. And then I don't actually know what soap is made from, so we'll leave it at orange for the moment. And then you can choose the icon as well, so we can see it's a check mark there. Maybe you wanted to make it a little bit more applicable to your specific store. So you could do something, maybe a plant. It looks a little bit better for the kind of theme of Sarah's soaps here. So then we go into ingredients, and then we see orange. So if you wanted to, and then you could also change the setting here as well. So you could call that something with more details, or you could even just not have it as well. You could just have the kind of little collapsible rows here. So this is a great example of how you can use a template. So obviously this won't apply to all the products. You won't have your ingredients for your towels, for example. So maybe this is something you wanted to add in for just your soaps. So you could add in these collapsible rows, or there's loads of different options as well. Say you wanted to add a section, maybe a nice video about how the soap is made. So you could add that into the product pages for just the soaps or a particular product if you wanted, and so on. So that is pretty much how templates work. So they are available on any store, online store 2.0 theme. So you can create them directly from within the theme editor, as I've showed. There's no coding required, which is great. So it just means it kind of removes a lot of the work that's needed to apply something across the board for many products. So it's really great in that sense. So that is our templates, and then the last thing that we have here to discuss is our ... It's back, the ellipses. So in the theme, we have the information here on the theme that you're currently in, which is the Sense theme. So you can see it's designed by Shopify. So if it's a third-party theme, you'll see a bit of information about it. And there's typically a link to the third-party documentation and support there as well. And so you can click on Edit Code, which brings you to the page we were looking at previously, where you can edit your theme code. Then you can edit the default theme content we were looking at earlier as well. Then this is a great option. The preview is, this is a theme that's on your Steam library, but it's not your live current theme. So you can hit preview, and then, for example, we can see here, this is what it looks like so far. And you can kind of navigate around and see what the store kind of feels like to have a look at, and maybe you notice something as well as you're previewing that you wouldn't necessarily from the theme editor. So it's a great option to have there. So that's the preview, and then view documentation brings you to the theme information here, so that you can see that in our help center, and then get support, bring you to the Shopify help center as well. So that is pretty much everything in the theme here. And then another quick thing to mention as well that you can do, you can see up here at the top, is you can choose the view, which is great. You can choose your desktop view, your mobile, so that you can see this is how the store looks like on mobile. And then maybe, for example, if we navigate back to the home page, we see this image is looking a little bit blurry, so we might want to take a look at that. And then we see the featured products. Maybe you don't love the way it's kind of cropped a little bit here, so you can just make sure that your mobile view looks okay as well when you're making any changes. And then you have your full screen option as well, so just to see what the theme looks like on full screen as well. So then we can navigate back to the main page here, and then if you want to publish your theme, you can click the button here, so that will make it published on your main live theme. And then you can save here at the top right. If you do make a mistake, maybe you add in a section you didn't plan on, or do something you didn't want to, you can just hit the back button here, and that will undo your last move, or you can go forward to redo. So that is pretty much all of the main options here. So let's save, see what it looks like, and then publish our theme. So you see a little kind of warning saying this is going to be your live theme now. Are you sure you want to do this? We'll say yes, and we'll publish our theme. So now you can see they've been swapped out. So Sense is the main current live theme, and then Dawn has moved down to the theme library. So they are that's the publishing option there for your theme. And then we can have a look here and actually duplicate like we were discussing earlier. So if we duplicate it, you can see copy pops up, and then you can see under the three dots here the option to rename. So maybe you want to call it Sense version 2, or a lot of merchants like to put the date that they've made the edits, and then you can preview, duplicate again if you'd like. So this is a really great option that we would highly recommend if maybe this is your live theme here and you want to test out some changes. You're not 100% sure about them. Maybe it's something that requires actually going in and editing the code, or a little bit more complex. There's no harm in duplicating the theme, going in, making it the change to the duplicate, previewing, making sure everything works as it should. And then once you're happy enough with it, you can go ahead and publish the theme you've been working on. Another handy little tip as well is a lot of merchants like to add a copy of their theme to the theme library if there is a special event coming up. So maybe you wanted to do a holiday themed theme as a a little bit of a tongue twister. So you could do something like that for some occasion that's coming up, and then make all your edits, kind of have it ready to go here in your theme library. And then when the event comes up, you can publish. So maybe you can add in, for example, a new section up at the top about the sale, announcement about the sale, or um, a new hero image. Instead of this one here, we could have a hero image saying, summer sale, 70% off, that kind of a thing. So you can have that there and ready to go. You can work on it in the background and then publish it when ready. So that is one of the options that you have there. That's quite useful. And then, as mentioned earlier, if we did want to add a theme, you can do it very quickly here. You can add one of the Shopify themes to your library by clicking that add button, or you can visit our theme store. And from the theme store, you can browse to the different themes, and you can also choose what industry. You can choose to only look at the free themes, and then maybe go by catalog size or specific features that you're looking for. So you have a couple of different options that you can filter by there. So the last thing I wanted to go over are a couple of tips and tricks for when you are using your Shopify theme. So the first one was to duplicate the theme when you're making any changes that we've gone over. Then there are some apps that can be used to add different sections to your theme. But something to bear in mind is that anything that's adding code to your store will slow it down. So remember the section that we are looking at earlier on with the apps. If you are adding apps that have an effect on your store, something to be wary of is that it may slow it down a bit. So just to make sure that you're okay with that, or maybe just seeing that everything is working as it should, basically, when you're adding apps. Typically, it's okay if there's only a couple, but the more apps you add, the more this may become an issue. So if you're wondering, for example, maybe you are not a soap store and you're wondering what kind of a theme might be good for you, there is another theme that I'm not saying here, but it's called Crave, and there's also another theme called Taste. They're good for kind of food products. Sense is good for anything kind of like soaps, bath kind of products, that kind of thing, toiletries, would be a great theme for that. Dawn is just a great theme in general. It's the default for kind of getting started. So it works in many different situations and scenarios. And then if you go into your theme store and then filter by the free themes, you'll see all 12 of the free Shopify themes, and you can see a bit more information about them there. And then the last point was, if you have multiple markets enabled for your store, something to be aware of is that the theme will start showing all of those markets as well if it's supported. So if you make a change to the default market, but not in the local market that you might be browsing from, and it appears in the theme changes, then it didn't. So it does appear like the theme change didn't take effect, but it did, but just not in the market you're browsing from. So I'll quickly show you what I'm referring to here. So see here we have our default, and then there is the B2B. And then, for example, I have a European market, international, United Kingdom. So, for example, here, if you go into European market, maybe a change was made in the default, but it might necessarily apply in the local market if you're browsing from that market. So just to make sure it's changed across the board. So that is pretty much everything that we were covering for today. Thank you so much for joining us today to discuss themes. If you do have any questions around how you can customize your theme or edit it, feel free to reach out to us in the Shopify community. We hope to see you again at next month's webinar. Thank you.